Okay, try
Over
it now.
there. Over
Over
there.
here,
Yes.
over there.
Yeah, it should be on
Alright,
there now.
so
It should be on there now. Yep, there it is. So now I can share.
here we are, ladies and gentlemen, for another Tuesday night of Abnormal Alabama and MyHauntedDolls.com. Join us for another horrific show, 2 hours, starting here. We start at 7 p.m. every Tuesday night. I'm Kelsey. In the center there is Miss Catherine Meta.
Hello, everyone.
And over here is none other than the infamous Kevin, Abel's brother Kane.
Abel's brother.
So we're going to start this show tonight. This is the soothing night of Valentine's Day. We're going to talk about love and romance and French kissing, and you believe that? I'm going to tell you some more. We're going to talk about gore as usual. We're going to talk about scary stuff. We're going to make your sleep hard to come by. But till then, Kevin, who are we talking to tonight?
I got my little Valentine doll here by the name of Katie. Here, let me at least share this on my Haunted Dolls page right quick. There we go. Hey, there we go. Now.
Hey, we got four people in one point. Thank you guys for joining. Don't be afraid to comment. And the first 20 minutes or so, Kevin will be doing his EVP spirit box session with this doll. He said Valentine's doll. What's the Valentine's doll name?
Yeah, her name is Katie. And for some strange reason, her story sheet has disappeared, but I remember what happened to her.
But we don't need to know that. She's going to tell us tonight.
Yeah.
Through the app.
We'll do that. And then if you want, I can just not tell her story. And then.
So here we go.
And then we can.
Are you guys ready for this? The drama begins here in just 1 minute from this point in time. Thank you for joining us here at Abnormal Alabama and MyHauntedDolls.com. We're going to turn this over to Kevin. And does he have his REM pod?
Yes, I do have the REM pod.
And do you have the cat ball going?
And I have the cat ball.
All right. So everybody, Catherine and I are going to step away, and we're going to turn this over to Master Kane.
Uh-oh.
Are we ready?
There we go. It's working now.
So, guys, if you hear something interesting, put it in the chat box there. Comment, like, share, thumbs up.
See how she's holding a little Valentine sucker?
Hit that subscribe button, and do all the things you're supposed to do. That's all we ask. We're not asking for you to donate money, but we will sell you books. And he's going to talk to you. We're going to talk to you about some books later. So don't go away. Say so long, Catherine. We're going to disappear for a minute.
There they go. All right. We have little Katie here. As you can see, she's holding a Valentine sucker in her little hand. Right there. Got her little red dress and shoes on for the holiday. And she's made where she's looking skyward. I guess it's supposed to be like she's looking up, either smiling at somebody or something, or she's dreaming, looking at the sky. But her name is Katie. And tonight, we do have the cat ball, which I've already explained to her before I came on the show here. I had a little talk with her, explained how to use these, the cat ball. If you tap it real good, it lights up. All righty. And then, of course, the REM pod. And then we have, I'm going to use another. I didn't realize I had this app on here. I bet Kelsey and Catherine have seen it before. The Underground Ghost Box, which kind of is like the necrophonic one, but this one, I've not used this on any of my videos yet. So I want to use it. And it kind of works like the necrophonic one. It has a little bit of static, just a little, but nothing too bad. So let's go ahead and try this out, little Katie. Katie, if you want to light up the ball there or light up that funny looking skull, just touch them, I think. You can touch the top of his head, but it's better if you touch that metal rod back there. All right, here we go. Hello, I heard a little hello. Is that you, Katie? Hi, I can hear you. If you come close to these things in my hand here, I can hear you really clear. I want to make sure I got your name right, so tell me your name. It is Katie? How old are you, Katie? So, Katie, tell us your story. What happened to you? Oh. I'm sorry, I think I talked over you. Say again. What happened to you, Katie? What happened that you wound up a spirit? Where are you from? Come a little closer and I can hear you. Don't be afraid of the camera. That's just so people can see you. Looks like Playful Rain is watching. Hello, Playful Rain. Katie, please say hello. We have some friends watching us. I'm sure they like to see your beautiful doll. Katie, what is your last name? Looks like you got a Valentine's doll here. Do you like Valentine's Day? Who is your Valentine? Is Valentine's Day your favorite holiday? I see your doll has a little Valentine sucker. I hear you, but I can't understand what you're saying. Yeah, you like candy? That was my favorite thing on Valentine was the chocolate. Do you like chocolate too? Wow, there was a full sentence there, but I couldn't understand what it said. Katie, can you touch that cat ball and light it up for us? You can make it show all kinds of pretty colors there to flash all around. Or if you want to, make the eyes on this skull light up. Just touch that metal antenna, that metal rod back there, metal stick. That makes more sense to you. That metal stick sticking up on the back of its head. You know, it's strange with this camera. In dim light, the color starts kind of flashing. I don't think that's paranormal. It just, every time I'm in a dim lit place, it does that. Or dimly lit, I should say. Proper English. Hey, Katie, tell us something. Tell us something really loud and clear. I heard something. You said it is a something. Katie, did something happen to your neck? What happened to your neck? I hear you giggling. Is that camera making you giggle? That was the cutest. There it goes again. That's the cutest giggle. What else makes you laugh, Katie? Do you like to sing? What's your favorite game to play? Do you like playing hide and seek? What's your favorite thing to do? I bet you like to play outside, don't you? You sure don't want to play with one of these toys, that cat ball or that funny looking head? I hear you giggling again. Did this doll belong to you? What's the doll's name? Where's your favorite place to go to? Do you have a favorite place? Excuse me. I gotta clear my throat. What would you like to tell us, Katie? Are you gonna share your lollipop with us? Excuse me. What's your favorite flavor of lollipop? I like the cherry flavored myself. We're getting down toward the end. Is there anything you'd like to say? Want me to put the camera up to your doll's face again? You seem to like that before. All right, is there anything you'd like to say? Because now's the time before we cut this off. Well, I'm glad we got to hear from you. I could certainly hear you. I hope everybody could hear you through my speaker, my microphone. All right, I'm going to count down from 5, and when I cut this off, if there's any spirits here that don't belong, you need to go back to where you belong. Let all spirits back away from the count of 5. All right, are you ready? She's still chattering. Okay. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Thank you. Goodbye. Man, that noise will drive you crazy.
Welcome to another Tuesday night. Tuesday night special here at Abnormal Alabama and My Haunted Dogs. Please join us every Tuesday night. Live stream right there. Do you miss her? What's in that cup?
Iced tea. Iced tea. That's all it is.
So now we're going to get into some very sweet yet bloody Valentine stories. Some horrific stories. Are we?
I forgot something. I'll be right. Just a second.
He's gonna be right back. Remember, folks, we have the only we do this show at no charge. You're always welcome to join us, but we do have books for sale. You can go to datingthedead.com and learn about this book, and you can also purchase this book at datingthedead.com. And I got a bunch of other books there too, but I don't know where the picture of Kevin's latest book is, but that's one of his latest later books.
Yeah, that's that was the last novel I wrote, and then I got one I'm finishing up this week. Let's see. Have I still got the picture out there?
And that's what he's got on his hat right there.
Yeah, see, I now have hats available on my website. So you can get your hat.
Is that your book right here, Kevin?
That's one of my books, yeah.
Okay.
My Haunted Collection, The Dark Side.
All right.
And then the newest one. I don't see it out here.
Oh, well, go to
Um,
myhauntedDolls.com and you can learn all about Kevin's
here,
books.
here, because I'm about to finish this up this week.
Oh, I thought you already had it up.
There it is. Dark
There
Awakening.
it is. There it
No,
is.
it's not done yet. I was
Coming
hoping to
soon.
have this printed up and out by next month. I'm
So you can support your favorite team of us right here,
myhauntedDolls.com.
and you
And
can
that's
enjoy
embroidered on there.
embroidered,
Yeah.
embroidered. Well, folks, we're a day late, but this is just the way it works out. Yesterday was Valentine's Day. Today is the
Yep.
15th, the day after Valentine's Day. On Valentine's Day, we celebrate love, romantic love,
Romantic love.
and sometimes self love. And now, in the name of that powerful bond that exists between misery and company, we're going to celebrate some real horrifying stories of hopeless humiliation, broken hearts, broken noses, and the most ill advised first date of all time. All of them occurring on Valentine's Day. Enjoy your love of the Charlotte through these real and really terrible tales from the cut and our miserable but magical friends. And I'm sure that Kevin has indeed found some stories, but I'm going to start off with a dirty, yes,
A
crass,
dirty story.
a politically incorrect one. This really
Ooh.
happened. So this girl broke her nose during a BJ. Go figure. And the story goes like this. I was a freshman in college and my boyfriend wanted a BJ. Go figure. Though I'd done stuff before, I was still learning how to round the bases. A cool older girl offered a lot of advice about oral sex. Pretend his junk is an ice cream cone, she said. Play with his balls. And also wake him up with a blowjob. He'll love it. Well, I decided to proffer his first VJ as a gift on Valentine's Day. The night before V Day, I'm so excited that I just lie there awake all night, waiting for him to fall asleep, waiting for him to stay asleep, waiting for him to wake up. Finally, as daylight breaks and he is stirring, I go for it. He's hard and it gets harder in mouth. He seems to be into it, but all of a sudden, he wakes up in shock and in one lightning fast reflex sits bolt upright and punches me in the nose really hard. Despite what pornography may suggest, some men do not react well to being woke up with sex. So we go to the campus health center where we spend the day having my nose reset and explaining that it wasn't domestic violence. For dinner, he takes me to Taco Bell where we spend the meal arguing about whether I am a sexual predator. To this day, I get really nervous initiating morning sex, so I'll sort of stare into his face while rubbing his thigh until I end up in what I am told has become my signature sex move. Well, my nose is still bigger than what it used to be. So there's our opening Valentine story for you. All right, let's go.
Ain't you funny?
Well, I didn't make it up. I didn't. It's there. Google it. All right, Kevin, you got a story? What about Catherine?
Yeah,
She
I
got
got
any
a
stories
story.
there? Come on, Catherine. Come on,
I got
Catherine.
a story of one of the larger haunted objects in the world that's related to Valentine's Day. And that would be, is it a statue? Is it a boat? Is it a car? No, it's a wall. Look at this. The site of the
Oh,
St. Valentine's Day
oh, well,
Massacre.
that's the first thing we think of when we think of Valentine. Well, us older folks,
Yeah. And
anyway.
there's a crime scene photo right there.
It doesn't get any bloodier
Yeah.
than that.
Any more brutal.
Brutality at its
The,
best.
the site of the massacre seems like any other piece of land. You walk past the 2100 block on North Clark Street, and you will find a vacant lot between an apartment building and a retirement center. You will notice there are many trees over this lot, and as you would suspect, there are cars. This seems like any other place in Lincoln Park. However, that is, unless you know the history. Roughly 80 years ago, this site is home to one of the bloodiest moments in Chicago's history. The St. Valentine's Day Massacre happened here. It was a very gruesome and bloody scene. It was not a scene for the faint of heart. At the time of the massacre, there was a warehouse in this location. This massacre occurred in 1929 around 10:30 a.m. on Valentine's Day. This was the murder of associates and members of the North Side Gang. 7 members and associates were brutally murdered at this time. It is said that the men had worked for Al Capone. The members were rounded up at the Lincoln Park garage on this fateful day, and afterwards they were forced to line up on the wall of the warehouse. They were then shot by some individuals who were dressed as police officers and businessmen. The 7 men were killed with 70 rounds of ammo on that fateful day. As history would tell us, the intended target of the shooting was the rival gang member. This man was known as George Bugs Moran. Even though he was the intended target, he escaped without being harmed. Bugs had actually arrived late for the meeting with his lieutenant. When they arrived, he had seen the phony police officers getting out of a parked car. Bugs decided to avoid being entangled in law enforcement, so he went to a nearby coffee shop. They had missed the whole massacre and the aftermath. It was said that one of the lookouts for Capone had mistaken one of the lieutenants for the leader himself. This was because he was wearing the same color hat and coat. The meeting was to lure George Bugs Moran by telling him there was a shipment of illegal booze. However, it was Capone's men who were busted. 20 years after the brutal murder in 1949, the front half of this garage was converted and used for business. It was an antique furniture storage shop. The people who started this business did not know what had happened there because they were new to the area. The business was not very successful because only tourists had come to the shop because the people from the town knew the history. A few years later, the building was torn down in 1967. However, the wall where the shooting occurred was integrated into the wall of the men's restroom at a nightclub. Some of the bricks were smuggled by those who were tearing down the building. Today, there's a fenced lawn that belongs to a nursing home. This was built where the garage had once been. There are also 5 trees planted on that same site. The large tree located in the middle of the yard is the marker to indicate where the brick wall had once stood. And then the location where the mass brutal killings took place is said to be extremely haunted. It has been haunted for years. The bricks that were taken are said to bring people bad luck. It was said that Capone hadn't seen an entity and was haunted by this entity until he passed away. The location where the killings took place have had reports such as unusual mists and lights. People can hear men's voices, and there's no one in sight or near the area. You can hear screaming from men and machine guns firing when you are near this site. People who are sensitive and stand in front of the fence may notice a sense of real fear. Even if these people walk by the area, they may notice a real sense of panic and fear. Animals have also reported to fear this area as well. The bricks that the men had lined up on are said to bring people bad luck. It was said that the killings had caused the bricks to soak in negative energy that was pretty powerful. It was said that when the nightclub had shut down, the bricks were sold for $1,000 apiece. However, many of the bricks had been given back because the owners had suffered from severe bad luck. Other people say the bricks were sold together in a box and that the box was numbered and there was a diagram telling people how to reassemble the wall. This was so that a single person would purchase this. However, it was never sold. It is said that Moran's brother-in-law's entity had started haunting Capone immediately after the killings. Capone had tried to send this entity to the other side by using a medium in 1931. However, it did not work. The entity is said to be James Clark, one of the men killed in the shooting. Even after Capone was released from prison, he was haunted by this entity until the day he had died. The land that is there today is still, or said to be still, haunted by the men who died that fateful day. Screaming and gunfire is a common occurrence at that site even when no one is around. If you walk by the fence of the nursing home, you may even feel frightened. Some people say that they see figures of gang members inside the nursing home or wandering the grounds. As for the bricks, the remaining bricks that were found, from what I understand, I think they're in the museum there in Chicago on display. And I saw something, I can't remember which show it was on the Travel Channel, where that museum has experienced some hauntings. And they had a team in there one night who captured some EVPs and what sounded like gunfire. So that was pretty creepy.
So, did you know that you can get VD without sex?
VD without sex?
Yeah, right here. Look at this.
Let's see. What? Ah.
That's probably a poor way to market a cake, a VD cake. Anyway.
That's very funny.
Very funny.
Very funny.
Very, I say indeed. What about the ADHD? Anybody heard of ADHD?
ADHD. I've heard of that, but I've heard some
attention
abbreviated
deficit.
thing.
Attention deficit. Yeah. So one time a guy said, "I love you" on Valentine's Day, and I replied, "Oh, so you waited until Valentine's Day to tell me? How manipulative." In my defense, we were walking out of a screening of the movie In the Company of Men, and he said it after admitting that he hadn't broken up with his girlfriend and he couldn't hold my hand because we'd get caught. So he said, "I love you." Then started to cry. Then he said, "I've never said I love you to anyone before." Maybe it was the movie's influence, but I kept walking and called out, "Sorry, how many cards are you going to play tonight?" Still one of the most romantic nights of my life. I finally said, "I love you too," when he caught me stealing his Andorol. So I met a guy singing karaoke at a bar, and he texted something like, "Let's hang out on Friday." And I thought, what a bold move. Valentine's Day, first date, why not? So I met him at a bar during a snowstorm and ended up back at his place pretty early, maybe 9 p.m. We walk in, his brother is super stoned on the couch, 3 seasons of Bones DVDs scattered around him, having a marathon. Okay, so we go into the kitchen. My date pulls out a bong, like that is like as tall as I am. I don't smoke that much weed, but anyway, we're there, so I smoke it and get so high that I can't see straight. And at this point, he puts on a CD of his own really bad folk acoustic band. It's so loud, and I'm so high. And finally, I say, "Let's go to the bedroom just to get away from music." So we start making out, mostly to kill time because I'm way too high to drive home. Then all of a sudden, he is completely naked. I am completely clothed. I basically ignore his nudity, which is easy because it's pretty limp situation. He's on top of me when he gazes deep into my stoned eyes and says, I haven't been able to keep it up since going on antipsychotics after my psychotic break during an LSD trip. I'm not kidding. I wonder whether a man like that would just smoke so much weed and give his flaccid dick a hand job. There's nothing sadder than a flaccid hand job. It was laborious and mechanical. I listened to Bones the whole night. Then I lay there for 15 minutes, and though I'm still too high to drive, I pretend I'm fine and go out to my car to sober up alone in the freezing cold because it's better than the scene inside. I sit there in my car doing nothing for half an hour. He still sends me Facebook invitations to his band. Rock bottom Valentine's Day. My rock bottom Valentine's Day occurred 2 days after a drug overdose. See, I've got some real positive stuff here for you, folks. To prove I wasn't suicidal, I showed my doctor the dress I'd purchased to wear on Valentine's Day. My poor boyfriend brought roses during visitors' hour on February 14th. The roses were not allowed in our rooms in case we whittled them into weapons. I never found out. So I was only allowed to look at them through the glass of the nursing station. Check yes or no or oops. In the fifth grade, I had a huge crush on a boy named Charlie and made him one of those cards that said, do you like me? Check yes or no. But I filled it with word searches and riddles to figure out my identity, even though it was obvious because I was staring at him the whole time. I was so entranced watching him solve his Valentine that I wasn't paying attention as I tipped so far back in my chair that I slipped and I fell, and my finger was crushed between the chair and a filing cabinet. And I immediately started sobbing and ran to the nurse. And if I remember correctly, there was a field trip to the high school to hear their band play that day. I missed the bus because I was at the nurse. By the time I returned, Charlie was gone. When I was in high school, we had singing telegrams every Valentine's Day. Basically, the most popular senior guys going classroom to classroom singing, Isn't She Lovely? And My Girl, and giving roses to the girls. Only the hottest girls got them. Like you could judge hotness based on roses. Anyway, after enduring this every year from seventh to 10th grade, I had enough. I was like Jennifer Lopez in enough. I wanted to get a freaking singing telegram. I decided to buy an anonymous one for myself. I filled out a form and paid $3. But when Valentine's Day came, the singing seniors never came by my history class. So I went up to one of the senior hotties and explained that I wanted my money back because my telegram hadn't been delivered, which I knew because I'd ordered it myself. He was either too dumb or too polite to laugh at me outright, but yeah, thinking back, pretty embarrassing. We'd been seeing each other about 6 months, but the relationship was still nebulous, talking, hanging out, occasional booty calls, never making real plans. After 6 months of that, you start to get tired. Valentine's Day came with zero mentions of going on a date until maybe 5 p.m. that night when he texted to ask what I was doing. I was exhausted. I'd been wearing a really uncomfortable corset and garter contraption all day on the off chance that I saw him, and I was annoyed at him and the underwear both. I responded by asking not just what we were doing that night, but where this whole relationship was going. He acted bewildered. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm trying to see you right now. We ended up in a lengthy text message fight, culminating in me telling him to forget it and delete my number. A friend later suggested that perhaps he was trying to surprise me, but honestly, the chances of that are slim to none. All I know for sure is that texting is an anticlimactic way to break up with someone. It's like screaming silently in public. Once upon a time at a marijuana-fueled liberal arts school, I was a video art student who had fallen hard for a guy after extensive wooing, broke my heart when he abruptly left school to deal with personal problems. In a terribly misguided attempt to feel closer to him, I booked a reservation at the vegan restaurant where he had worked and we had met. I dressed up in red and pink and went on Valentine's Day date with a full-length mirror. I set up 2 cameras and in a fully booked restaurant surrounded by couples, spent 90 minutes eating a romantic Prix 5 dinner while talking to myself. But the lighting was terrible and the sound was muffled by the crowd, so after enduring this humiliation, I had neither a boyfriend nor footage to show for it. But as I was leaving, some kind older gentleman tapped my shoulder and said, I hope your date knows how lucky she is. The cubbyhole creepster. That sounds like Kevin. Oh, I
Ah.
experienced love for the first time in the first grade. I was so enamored that I could stare at him for what felt like hours, which in reality was probably like 30 seconds, given first grade attention spans, but I'm sure it was creepy anyway. On Valentine's Day, I carried a ream of construction paper and a pair of scissors to his cubbyhole and stood there, transfixed, as I cut dozens of construction paper hearts, one after another, scrawling, I love you, Alex, across each one. I stood there, lost in my task, until his cubby was completely full and my teacher pulled me away for a one-on-one lecture about appropriate boundaries and paper waste,
Oh.
sexual consent, and recycling. Cupid wears a whipped cream bikini. I'd been casually hooking up with 2 guys when Valentine's Day arrived and figured I'd hear from neither on the holiday. Instead, in an act of complete whatever, I went to a bar with some friends to watch desperation play out. Against expectations, one of my hookups texted me late in the night, clearly a booty call, but I told him I would bring a Valentine's gift and picked up a can of whipped cream on my way to his place. I knocked on his door, brandishing the whipped cream as the door opened, and I found myself facing his best friend. We looked at each other silently for a moment, then burst out laughing. I knew he was going to text you, the friend said. He's so wasted, I think he passed out already. Sure enough, he was passed out in the bedroom with his shoes on. Eventually, the friend left, apologizing that I now had to take care of the drunk idiot. So I went to the room and got to work taking off his hefty snow-soaked shoes, and he groaned awake. Just give me a half hour and I'll be ready, he said groggily. Oh, honey, I said, we're not doing anything tonight. But I thought I was just a piece of meat, he said. You're an idiot, I said. I fed him a glass of water, both of us laughing. I can't believe this is how we're spending Valentine's Day, he said. And if we'd had plans or any kind of romantic relationship in the first place, as if he was so dopey I couldn't help myself. This is just one night, I said. We'll have thousands more. Now go back to sleep. Then I joined him on the other side of the bed. I stopped hooking up with other guys after that. We stayed together for several months. Definitely a fun time. So there's a few romantic little Valentine's Day stories, but I'm sure that Kevin has some more violently vicious,
Violently vicious.
bloody Valentine's stories to share.
We love
here.
violently vicious.
Let us
I like
Valentine's
this.
viciously. Yes. Should we continue with that? Should this really? Do we want to do this? Is it safe?
Yeah.
Is it reasonable to think that we should do this?
Yeah, we
Really?
should.
I mean, really? Are you sure?
I am sure.
Absolutely positive that you want to continue with this idiocy.
Absolutely positively.
This total idiocy.
This total idiocy.
The total idiocy. Well, just continue on because romance has always had a dark side. Something sinister, possessive, even fatal lurks behind the desire to attract and be attracted. The centuries, for centuries, something spiritual, even supernatural, has been suspected in the ways of lovers in the night. It was Shakespeare that called lovemaking the beast with 2 backs. In many ages, the monomaniacal lust of a man for one woman has been blamed on witchcraft. The French refer to the sleep that follows intercourse as la petite mort, or the little death. There is a night side to our amours, a dark animalistic release that takes place when we are alone with our love, drenched with shadows and candlelight. Something bestial and primitive about romance returns us to our less civilized forms, and for some of us, it is one of the few moments that we can genuinely sense our relationship to infinity in the realm of spirits. Consequently, romance has become one of the most prominent themes of Gothic fiction, from Dracula, the Phantom of the Opera, from Wuthering Heights and The Raven. Nothing bridges the gap between reality and imagination, the physical and the spiritual, quite so nimbly as carnal attraction. And no genre is more capable of deconstructing these emotions quite so nimbly as horror. H.P. Lovecraft, in supernatural horror and literature, famously declared fear to be the oldest human emotion. Without contesting that observation, I think love, that messy tangle of desire, admiration, lust, possessiveness, and passion, is almost certainly the second. After our basic needs have been met, we find ourselves warm, dry, sheltered, and fed. Our very next need is emotional, the thirst for company, for understanding and belonging. In short, once our survival is no longer in question, the human spirit is most desperate for love. Love has left deep impressions in human culture, in art, literature, philosophy, religion, and yes, even government. Whole genres of films, stories, and songs are devoted to its expression. Some of the most critical human rites of passage, from proms, weddings, balls, festivals, revolve around the celebration of Eros. Many of the most passionate and aggressive political battles of the past 2 centuries have involved debating the appropriateness of marginalized love and its expressions. Nearly every religion on earth exalts love as the most divine of human emotions and use the wedding ceremony as a spiritual reenactment of their theological values. By being near two lovers, we are permitted to briefly catch a glimpse of eternity. And yet, as even the most romantic among us are wont to recognize, love comes with a darkness as bleak as its light is illuminating. Love can be heaven, but it can be hell just as easily. And this is a concept in which many of the best writers of supernatural fiction have found powerful value. And now, from Kevin, this story that he's sharing may not be fiction, it could be fact.
Ooh, that's a good intro to what I'm about to tell. Because what's a Valentine's Day without lost love?
Lost
And this
without
is
your
about
love.
Emily's Bridge in Stowe, Vermont. Emily's covered bridge is no ordinary bridge. Granted, it's a covered bridge that has charm and mystery about it as much as the other hundreds of covered bridges that New England is famous for. Only Emily's Bridge has far more mystery than charm. Stories swirling around this particular bridge could be the basis for a good horror movie or a TV series.
Mm,
For all appearances, the bridge looks normal. It's just another bridge on a brook that was built in the 19th century. But the first clue that something is not typical about this bridge is right in the name. Who's Emily? Because the official name of the bridge is the Gold Brook Covered Bridge. So,
mm,
what did Emily do to get the bridge named after her? Built in 1844, Emily's Bridge in Stowe, Vermont was just 50 feet long over Gold Brook and was covered with dark wood that the elements have not been merciful on ever since. But around the time the bridge was built, that dark wood was still new, smelling of fresh pine, and creaked every time a horse drawn wagon crossed it. A young woman named Emily planned to elope with her love. Their meeting place was this same bridge. But when he did not show, Emily, filled with despair, hanged herself from the rafters of the Gold Brook Bridge. A sad story indeed, and anyone who hears it for the first time feel sorry for young Emily and her broken heart. Only Emily was not finished with the bridge just yet. Stories started making the rounds in the area of sightings of young Emily lurking around the bridge. Not the sweet and sorrowful Emily that we learned about, but a vengeful Emily, full of wrath and apparently long nails. Emily was understandably upset at being jilted. Anybody would be. But for Emily to take it out on passing cars, some would consider that overdramatic. But that's what Emily does. She started slashing cars passing over the bridge and leaving scars not unlike that of a wolverine down the side. Even pedestrians crossing Emily's bridge are not safe, and the marks on their backs bear witness to Emily's fury, which has not abated even after all these years. To this day, blogs and websites still tell stories about recent hauntings and sightings of poor Emily, still going about her tortured business. What is surprising about all of this is that Emily had not thought about waylaying the guy who scorned her and giving him a piece of her mind along with some scratches. That would have been the logical thing to do, but as we all know, ghosts are not the most logical of beings. If you like a good paranormal story and get a kick out of exploring haunted places, Emily's Bridge in Stowe, Vermont will get you all tingly in the right places. Tingly. That's how I was meant to do. All
Would you
tingly.
tingle? Would you tingle?
No.
Oh my goodness! Is anybody enjoying any of this tonight?
You know, I hadn't had a comment in a while. I
It's
guess
been
Playful
very
Rain is
clever.
still out
I
there.
think I think I'm putting them to sleep early.
Ah,
They're going,
oh.
they're going
Well,
to
I
sleep
just have to
very
bloody
well.
it up. I got scarier stuff here.
So join us now for some more lovely stories presented by Kevin Kane from MyHauntedDolls.com. It is the day after Valentine's Day, post Valentine's Day, where we are streaming live here at Abnormal, Alabama, and various places across the internet. So join Kevin now as he shares with us another horrific, horrible, possibly bloody, and demented story of Valentines. Ooh, there you
Valentines. Whoa. All right,
go. Whoa, whoa,
now
whoa,
where is my Valentine?
be my
Here, so here
Valentine.
I shared some the other night on my podcast,
Are you
and I want to
podcasting?
make sure to share those if I can pull it on up here. Actually,
Pull it up.
I'll just pull it up right here, and that'll be easy enough because it's right here on my Kindle. I had a whole collection of these things.
You collected them?
a
You
book
really
that's
collected
a
them?
book that collected all these things. Here we go.
You
Now
collected
I'll
them.
find it. Here it is. Piece of cake. And there was one in particular I wanted to share
Oh no.
that, and this not only does it combine, it takes a famous supernatural element, it combines it with Valentine's here quite masterfully. And this is a story.
Masterfully.
Yeah.
Masterfully.
And
Wow.
this is a story called La Llorona.
Llorona. That sounds almost like poetic.
Yeah.
Yeah. So continue forth. Sally on.
Stanley Stanley was swimming with Miguel, his best friend, down by the river. It was hot and the water felt right as the sun started to go down on this day, just days before Valentine. Even though it was February, it was unseasonably hot that day. Suddenly, Miguel ran out of the water. Where are you going, son? Stanley asked. Gotta go home before La Llorona gets me, Miguel said. Is that the story about the crying woman who's always looking for her dead children? Stanley asked. It's no story, man, Miguel said, putting on his shoes. She's real. My uncle said he saw her, and the next day he died. All right, whatever, Stanley said, shaking his head. See you at school tomorrow. Miguel had once told him how the ghost of this tall, thin woman, dressed in white, would appear after dark. She would take kids who stayed out too late or who did not listen to their parents. Sometimes she would appear to people before they died. Stanley floated on his back, staring up at the sky as the gentle current carried him. He was not thinking about La Llorona. He was thinking about his favorite thing, money. He loved to hold it and to count it, and he loved thinking of new ways of making it. The next day, before Valentine's came, he came up with an idea. There were a lot of Hispanic kids like Miguel at school. One hombre's scary story is another man's gold mine, he muttered to himself. He wasn't sure what he was looking for, but after visiting a few discount stores, he found it. It was a cheap plastic letter Y. He bought several dozen. When he got home, he tied a length of yarn to one of the letters, and that was that. All he had to do now was give it a name and convince people they needed one, or perhaps they need to get one for their girlfriends. Llorona bigona, he said. That's it. Llorona bigona. That's what I'll tell 'em. The next day before school, he paid some kids to start saying they had actually seen La Llorona. Say that you saw her down by the river at night, he said. She was dressed in white and crying and almost got you. Tell the story in class during your share time and at recess and lunch. Act scared like it's real. In the next few days, the story started spreading through the school like a zombie plague. Pretty soon, everyone was talking about La Llorona. A lot of kids were actually scared. Stanley's plan was working to perfection. The following Monday, he set up a little stand with his necklaces to just continue selling them. All you have to do, he would say, is wear it and say, Llorona bigona 3 times, and she can't get you. Only $3, $3. And if it does not work, you get your money back. He sold them before and after school and during recess and lunch. By the end of the week, he had made $339. This ain't cool, man, Miguel said to him a few days later. My mom says you're playing with fire. You should not mess with things you don't understand. Well, all I understand is that I'm making a real killing, Stanley said, patting the big wad of cash in his pocket. By By the end of the month, it seemed that almost every kid in the school had bought the Yoronabigona necklace, and Stanley had almost made $1,000. When his mom took his younger brother and sister out for a movie that night, Stanley stayed home. He counted and recounted his money, and then he took a bath. And tomorrow, well, in a couple of months, there's going to be other holidays, he said to himself. The Day of the Dead. Then you have Halloween even coming up later in the year. I'm sure I can make even more money then. Just then, Stanley's thoughts were interrupted as he heard something outside the bathroom. It sounded like someone sobbing, and then it was quiet again. An icy chill suddenly filled the room. Stanley shivered in the warm water. Suddenly, the lights went out. Mom, he called out, Mom. But He remembered he was alone in the house. He heard the crying again, and then he saw her standing by the door. Her white dress glowed in the dark. Her dark hair hung down over her sad, ghostly face. She floated closer to the tub. Oh, Llorona Bigona! Llorona Bigona! Llorona Bigona! Stanley repeated as he held up his wide necklace. Eso no sirve, mi hijo, she moaned. It is too late for that, and it is too late for you. La Llorona was now right over Stanley. No, no, you're not real. You're not real, Stanley stuttered, tears streaming from his bulging eyes. A bony hand pushed his head under the water. He tried to fight, but it was no use. No llores, mi niño, she whispered sadly. Don't cry now. Sleep, my child. Sleep. And then he saw darkness. Ah, La Llorona and Valentines combined.
What a trip. Uno, dos,
What a
tres,
trip.
cuatro. Cuatro, seis. Oh, yes. Yes,
Oh,
yes,
sure.
yes, yes.
You sound like an old man now.
I feel like an old man now. What can I say? Can you get any more stories you can share? Okay. What about let's see, The Bride on the Bridge. A few of my little short stories again. I let Kevin do the long ones, I'll do the short ones.
Yeah.
In Stowe, Vermont, lies a covered bridge they call Emily's Bridge. There are several versions of Emily's sad tale. Some versions say that Emily and her boyfriend were meeting at the bridge to elope, since her parents did not approve. He never came, and she hung herself from a rafter. Another version says Emily was left at the wedding altar. She hopped on a carriage to find her love. But when she reached the bridge, one of the horses was startled, and she died in an accident. Some versions say she was killed by runaway horses on the way to her wedding. Whatever way you put it, Emily reached a tragic fate. So visitors to the bridge have reported scratch marks on their cars and bodies, and strange noises like footsteps, ropes tightening, girls screaming. If you park your car on the bridge, you might hear banging on the car or her body's feet dragging on the car's roof. A deadly love triangle. The Castillo de San Marcos in St. Augustine, Florida, is the oldest masonry fort in the entire United States. The site itself is dripping with paranormal activity. But right now, let's focus on one affair that led to murder.
Ooh.
In 1784, Colonel Garcia Marti brought his young wife Dolores to the fort. He wasn't the most devoted husband and often ignored her. Thus, she found other ways to spend her time. She began an affair with her husband's assistant, Captain Manuel Abella. Dolores wore a very unique perfume, which Garcia smelled on Manuel one day. Shortly after, Dolores and Manuel went missing. Garcia told everyone that Dolores had returned to Spain and that Manuel had a special assignment in Cuba. About 50 years or so later, a hidden room was found in a dungeon behind a brick wall. The remains of a woman and man were found. Some versions say chained to the wall, some say in a pile of ashes. Sightings of a woman with a white dress have been reported on the site. Could it be Dolores? Forbidden Love. Minnie Kay was the 15-year-old daughter of James and Marianne Quay. They lived in Forester, Michigan, so they often saw boats coming and out of town. Minnie fell in love with a sailor. Not much is known about him, and her parents disapproved, of course, of this crush. But one day, word came to town that his boat sank, and Minnie was quite distraught, especially since her parents had forbidden her to say goodbye when he had last left. Sometime after she was babysitting her infant brother for her parents, she left her house and walked towards the waterfront. People near the town inn, the Tanner House, waved as she walked by. Suddenly, their friendly faces turned to faces of horror as she walked into Lake Huron. Legend says she still walks the beach, waiting for her sailor to return. More frightening versions say she lures young girls toward the water and toward their deaths. What about a romantic murder plot?
Oh.
Jesse Strain deserted his wife and children and began a new life in Albany, New York. He lived under a new name, Joseph Orton, and began working at the Van Rensselaers residence at Cherry Hill. He caught the eye of the affluent Elsie, a married woman. Jesse and Elsie decided their love could really flourish without Elsie's husband, John Whipple, around. So in May of 1827, after a failed attempt of arsenic poisoning, Jesse Strain shot John Whipple. Jesse and Elsie tried to hide their murder plot, but they didn't cover their tracks very well. Murder by Gaslight, a new favorite blog, describes the sensational trial that followed. In June, Jesse Strain confessed to the murder and told prosecutors where to find the rifle. He believed that if Elsie was convicted as well, her powerful family connections would get them both pardoned, and he tried to lay the blame on her. That when his lawyer and the prosecutor told him that nothing he said against Elsie would lighten his punishment, he withdrew his confession. Members of the household testified that they had heard Strain spread the stories of prowlers out to kill Whipple. The merchants who sold him the rifle and the arsenic testified, as did hotel keepers who had seen Strain and Elsie together. But it was Strain's confessions, admitted over the objection of the defense, which sealed his fate. The jury deliberated for 15 minutes before returning a verdict of guilty. Elsie's trial followed the same course as Strain's, except the prosecution tried to call Strain as a witness. There was much debate over his eligibility to testify because he'd been convicted but not yet sentenced. In the end, the judge would not allow his testimony. The prosecution rested, and the jury, without leaving their seats, acquitted Elsie Whipple. The Albany establishment had closed ranks to save one of their own from a public hanging. Jesse Strain was found guilty of first-degree murder, and Elsie Whipple was found not guilty. And according to an Albany tourist site, all members of this love triangle roamed the halls of Cherry Hill. People have witnessed a ghost on the bottom floor of Cherry Hill and believe it is Mr. Whipple. He is not hostile, but gives off a feeling of anger. Jesse Strain's ghost is seen where the gallows once stood, wearing the same clothes he wore the day of his execution. Imagine repeatedly running into both your eyes, exes in the afterlife. That's pretty tragic. As we can see, tragic love often ends with lingering ghosts. There's even a type of ghost, the white lady, that is often attached to a story of betrayal by a lover. So, what do you think in the afterlife? Will you be and recognize your exes? Who knows? Maybe that is the true meaning of karma.
Ooh.
Ah, in the name.
Is
Oh,
it time?
yes.
Is it time for my story?
It's time for the story. Another story to be told by none other, the infamous Kevin Kane.
Ooh.
Right here on a Tuesday night at 8:19 Central Daylight Time, broadcasting live from South Central Alabama. Yours truly and his buddy Kevin Kane bring you the most horrific stories, exciting, turbulent times about Valentines. Another love story? Let's go.
This is a Valentine's freaky story that has to do with a math whiz. Sarah went outside to get the mail. She pulled out a blue envelope from the mailbox. It was written to her and had no return address. She hardly ever got any mail, just a card from her grandmother once a year. But that was her birthday, and her birthday was in July, not February. Valentine's Day. But wait, it's blue. So this didn't quite match the color of a typical Valentine's Day card in the mail. A cool wind blew through her hair as she opened the letter. Dear Sarah, see you in 5 days, was all that was written. The next day, after basketball practice, she found another blue envelope on her bed. She opened it up. Dear Sarah, see you in 4 days. A chill went down her spine. Goosebumps covered her arms. Who was sending these? Some sort of warped Valentine or crazed secret admirer?
I think it was Kevin Kane.
It must kiss my grits. It must be one of her friends having some fun, she thought. A prank, a practical joke. The next day at the mall, her friends denied sending her the letters or being anywhere near involved. I mean, really, Annabelle said. I would just text you. Not me, Quentin said. I don't even know where to buy stamps. As she walked home, she saw the postal carrier next to her mailbox. Good timing, girlie, the woman said. This one's for you. Her heart raced as if the game was on the line and she was shooting a three-pointer. She took the blue envelope and went inside the house. She opened it slowly. Dear Sarah, see you tomorrow. Tomorrow, she shouted. What a jerk. You can't even count. Her friends laughed the next day as they passed the letters around. Ha ha, probably somebody failed math, someone said. It's your future husband, Sarah, somebody else cackled. They kept on laughing, but Sarah felt queasy and worried that the enchiladas she had just eaten for lunch would rise up and explode from her. She walked home in the winter cold air. Sweat, though, was pooling on her upper lip. A few times she thought she heard footsteps behind her, but when she turned around, no one was there. When she got home, she found Scott Smith sitting on the front steps. She'd not seen him since at least a month ago. Hey, Sarah, he said, smiling. Hey, Scott, she said, wondering what he was doing on her porch. She got out her key. Wait a minute, she said, putting things together. Is it you? Are you the one sending those awful letters? She was mad now. She could feel the rage burning in her blood. Yep, he said, grinning. And here I am. Want to go shoot some hoops? Oh, for the love, Sarah muttered as she pushed past him toward the front door. By the way, you scared me half to death, she said, turning around. But Scott was gone. Guess I hurt his feelings, she said to no one, but that serves him right. Relieved at least that the mystery was solved, she poured herself a large glass of lemonade and went to watch television. That night, Sarah was on the phone with Darcy. Hey, wasn't Scott Smith in your math class last year? Sarah asked. Yeah, he was, Darcy said. Why? Was he bad at math? Yeah, Darcy replied. Poor guy was no genius, but I suppose it does not matter now. Sarah explained that Scott was the one who had been leaving her notes and that he had visited her that afternoon. I don't think that's funny, Darcy said. You shouldn't say stuff like that. Why not? Sarah said. What are you talking about? You must have heard, Darcy said. Scott Smith died in a skateboarding accident last week. Sarah's blood went ice cold before she fainted and fell to the ground. Ooh.
So you're a movie buff, right?
I'm a movie buff.
You like horror movies.
Kinda, yeah, I love horror movies.
Wasn't there a movie called My Bloody Valentine?
Yes, there's the original in 1981, and then there was a remake, a 3D version that came out in 2000, 2009, I believe.
So why don't you take a moment and give us a brief synopsis of that movie? If you want to get,
Oh,
I bet you could do a very good job of that, couldn't you?
well, I guess I could. I've only seen it
So
a
yeah,
few
well,
times,
it's the
but
perfect time. Maybe you could grab a couple of pictures and whatnot. Might be worthy of your investigation.
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 And what are you going to do in the meantime? Are you
I'm
going to?
going to tell some more stories.
Oh, well, you just
Would
must.
you like me to tell some more stories?
Yeah.
Let's see if we can find. Oh, wait a minute. No, oh, there it is. Okay. So let's go. Oh, wrong one. We're not through. Hang in there with me. We're gonna get there. I promise. I promise we're gonna get there. Come on. Can we do this? I've already done that one. There's got to be more. Don't go anywhere. We're gonna do this. I promise. We're going to do this. Don't, 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 don't worry. Don't worry. Don't worry.
Don't worry. Don't worry. Don't worry. Be happy.
I found out that my boyfriend had been cheating on me Valentine's Day when the girl he was cheating with texted me, thanks for being such a good friend to him after we had broken up. It's funny in retrospect because it's like something out of a sitcom. I lost my shit. I told my friend what happened and he pulled together a last minute drink your feelings singles only Valentine's Day party. And it was really fun. I ended up making out with my lost RA for like 30 minutes, and that made me feel better. I was mostly happy to finally be free of that relationship and have a real excuse not to entertain his pleas of getting back together again. Oh, what Valentine stories we have. We'd gone out on one date already. It was actually an incredible meet. He picked up my scarf after I dropped it in a store, and I later posted a missed connection that he saw and answered. But I planned a second date for like next Tuesday or whatever, not realizing it was the 14th until it was too late to move it. He brought me chocolates, but I didn't bring anything because I didn't think it was had progressed enough to warrant that yet. Then we got to the theater like an hour and a half before the movie because we got the time wrong. We sat in the lobby and chatted about nothing for a long time. And I realized I was actually wasn't as into him as I thought and was already thinking, how could I possibly get out of this? I had to try to stay engaging and fun, knowing it was headed nowhere, while the second date, being on Valentine's Day, upped the stakes for him, but I think he's engaged now. Well, that's not actually scary. It's just true stories of people that screwed up on Valentine's Day. Here's something we can get into right now. What about some fascinating facts about Valentine's Day that you may have not known?
Okay.
Are you ready for me? Should I continue on?
I'm ready. I'm ready.
You ready? You sure you're
Yeah,
ready? I need to have this right here,
I'm ready. I got this.
though.
I got the 1981 synopsis of My
There.
Bloody
Okay, so
Valentine.
let's go and we gotta have a little background music here. So here we go. And so Kevin's gonna tell us about My Bloody Valentine.
I picked the original 81 since that's the classic. And spoiler alert for anybody who hasn't seen the movie, close your ears if you're planning to see. Inside a mine shaft, a female miner takes off her gear in front of another miner. When the woman performs a striptease, the miner pushes her onto a mining pickaxe, killing her. Mayor Hanniger of Valentine's Bluffs, a Canadian mining town, reinstates the traditional Valentine's Day dance, which has been suspended for 20 years. The dances stopped 20 years ago after an accident in which two supervisors left 5 miners in the mines while they attended the dance. Because they forgot to check methane gas levels in the mining tunnels, there was an explosion that trapped the miners. Harry Warden, the only survivor, resorted to cannibalism to survive and went insane. The following year, he escaped and murdered the 2 supervisors who left their posts that previous year, cut out their hearts, and placed them in Valentine candy boxes with a note from Harry warning the town never to hold the Valentine's Day dance ever again, or he will commit more killings. Warden was placed into an asylum, and the accident was forgotten, so the dance resumed. A group of young residents were excited about the dance, that being Gretchen, Dave, Hollis, Patty, a slew of kids here, and the mayor's son, TJ. And some of these involved in an intense love triangle. Mayor Hanniger and the town's police chief, Jake Newby, receive an anonymous box of Valentine chocolates containing a human heart and a note warning that murders will begin if the dance proceeds. That evening, resident Mabel is murdered by a mining geared killer inside her laundromat, and her heart is removed. Newbie publicly reports that she died of a heart attack to prevent any panic. He contacts the mental institution where Harry Warden was incarcerated, but they have no record of him. Hanniger and Newbie cancel the dance, but the town's youngsters decide to hold their party at the mine. A bartender warns them against it, but he too is killed by the miner. At the party, the miner brutally kills Dave. His heart is subsequently found boiling in a pot of hot dogs being prepared in the kitchen. Shortly after, Sylvia is impaled on a shower head by the miner. When the others realize Dave and Sylvia have been murdered, they contact authorities, but several of the partygoers have already decided to enter the mines for fun before they knew about the murders. Newbie rushes into the mines with police to rescue them. The miner impales a large drill into Mike and Harriet and then shoots a nail gun into Hollis's head. Horrified, Howard flees, and the remaining 4 try to climb to the top with a ladder but discover a dead, beheaded Howard above. While finding their way out, Axel drowns and Patty is killed by the miner. The miner chases TJ and Sarah, and a fight ensues. The miner is revealed to be Axel, who faked his demise. A flashback shows that Axel's father was one of the supervisors killed by Harry Warden. As a child, Axel witnessed Harry Warden murdering his father, which traumatized him. So now TJ hits Axel with a rock, resulting in the tunnel collapsing, which traps Axel as Newbie and the police arrive to rescue TJ and Sarah. The police explain to them that Harry Warden actually died 5 years earlier. TJ and Sarah hear a rescuer shout that Axel is still alive, and they rush back to the scene. They watch as Axel frees himself from the debris by amputating his own trapped arm. He runs deeper into the mine, shouting threats that he and Harry Warden will return and murder everyone in town, and mumbling about Sarah being his bloody Valentine. And then he runs away, laughing like a maniac. And that's your synopsis. That's where it ended. And I've got another story. I guess Kelsey stepped away. I've got another story here I can share. This one is called Missing Cat. $500. Morgan kept repeating each word slowly. $500. He stood in front of the telephone pole, staring at a flyer. The photo showed a long-haired cat being held by an old woman with thick glasses. The generous reward was being offered for Mr. Fremboy. Oh, that's such a lame name for a cat, Morgan said to the poster. Well, Mr. Fremboy, I'm going to find you anyway. Morgan saw a lot of cats that week, but not the one he was looking for. He felt the $500 slipping away. Valentine's Day was approaching, and it would make good money to buy his girlfriend an even more awesome gift. Then he got an idea. He would just paint one of these cats he'd seen to look like Mr. Fremboy. That stupid old woman is probably half blind, Morgan muttered. She won't be able to tell the difference. It did not take Morgan long to find a long-haired black cat that looked to be the right size. Then he bought some hair dye at the drugstore. Just hold still, Mr. Fremboy, Morgan shouted. After some awful meowing and hissing and scratching, Morgan finally had his white cat. It wasn't perfect. A few black spots still showed here and there, but it was good enough to get the job done. Morgan called the number on the flyer. I think I found your cat, he said into the phone. Oh, that's wonderful, the old voice said. Can you bring him over after the sun goes down? Sure, Morgan said, no problem. After dinner, Morgan put the white cat in a cardboard box and walked over to the house. He rang the doorbell. The old woman from the picture opened the door. Here's your cat, Morgan said with a smile. Oh my, the woman said, opening the box. Mr. Fremboy, there you are. I was beginning to think I would never see you again. Please come in, young man. The cat, however, jumped out of the box and ran down the sidewalk. But strangely enough, the old woman did not seem to notice. It was dark in the living room when he went inside, and the only light coming was from a few candles nearby. Dust and cobwebs covered everything. The old woman brought Morgan some cookies and milk. These are pretty good, Morgan thought, finishing the last one. But this milk tastes kind of nasty. That's because I put a little something in it to help you relax, the old woman said without moving her lips. And to help you get the blood flowing. Wait a minute. Hey, how did you know what I was thinking? Then Morgan started to notice the room spin and his voice started to slur. Where's my money anyway? I brought back your cat. Oh, that's not my cat, the woman said. How could you tell? He asked, his tongue growing too thick to speak. You only thought him for a second. I don't have a cat, she said. Morgan tried to get up from the chair, but his legs did not work. He tried to scream, but he was powerless. The old woman came toward him. He could smell the death on her as she leaned in close. She then opened her mouth and her dentures dropped into Morgan's lap. He saw the sharp fangs poke out from her pinkish black gums. A second later, they dug deep into his neck. As the life drained out of him, the last thing Morgan saw was the old woman changing, becoming younger and more beautiful with every drop of his blood, every precious drop. Now there's a Valentine for you.
Every single
There's
drop,
Kelsey. I got two
every
stories out there.
oh,
I
every
told
single one.
every single one.
Uh,
Oh, speaking of, I did do the synopsis while you were away on the My Bloody Valentine. There's another movie. I wonder if our audience members here, Playful Rain and Shasta, there's another movie called Valentine. That's just the simple title, Valentine.
well, you want to talk about
And
it then? The last.
and well, it wouldn't take me long because I can summarize it. In fact, the clip you showed at the beginning
Mhm.
with uh, that Cupid mask in the elevator, the doors trying to close and all that.
Okay, let's
That
play
is
that then.
that's from the movie Valentine.
Let's play that real quick. It's a short clip. So
Okay.
let me find it. God dang, my computer's acting up here.
And this movie's on Shutter. If you have Shutter, they've got it out there now. They added it just in time for Valentine last week.
slow.
Have you got it there?
I'm locked up.
You're locked up. Listen, I
My
bet I
sister.
could.
Oh, wait a minute. Here
I,
we go.
oh, I was
Freed
about
up.
to say I could look for it too.
I got it here now. Okay, here
Okay.
we go. Come on.
Oh, oh, that was creepy.
Don't
I was
forget,
gonna
every Tuesday night, right here, 7 to 9, join us for another
join
2 hours. You never know what we're going to talk about. Sometimes we wait to the last minute to decide what we're going to talk about. So, if any of you guys have any research you would like us to do on any subjects that have to do with the paranormal, the strange, the interesting, the quirky, let us know. Message us, put it in the comments. We will see it and we will work on that just for you.
Yeah. I've
So,
got a picture of that Valentine movie, and I could tell the synopsis real quick. But
do you need some tissue?
Do I need some tissue?
Well, you
I
said
don't
something
need any
about.
tissue.
I thought you said synopsis. What?
Synopsis.
Oh, okay.
Oh. But yeah, the story evolves around this young boy. I think his name was Jeremy Milner, who in his middle school day was harassed by these five girls, and one of them framed him for attacking her when he really didn't. They just like to bully him. So jump forward years later, this same, well, first let me say Jeremy was put away somewhere for a crime he didn't commit, juvie hall or somewhere. Years later, these girls are in their early 20s and they start receiving Valentine, very disgusting, bloody Valentine type cards threatening them. And each one is signed JM, like Jeremy Milner. And then, as you saw in that clip, this tall, dark, crazed figure wearing black and a Cupid mask shows up and starts picking them off one by one. And you see that the nose of the mask, there was blood coming through. That's because Jeremy, whenever he got anxious, his nose would bleed. So you know that's him behind the mask. But who is it really? So that's a good movie. It's a good slasher, early 2000s slasher for Valentine's Day. Go watch that on Shudder.
Shutter.
Shutter. So now what? If you want, you got a
No,
story? Or you need me to?
I'm still giving it all to you. You're doing a good job.
What other story did I share?
People think I talk too much, so I'm trying not to talk too much.
This was a good one. I got a spooky one. I like the title too. It's called "I Do" with all these O's. I do like a ghost. And here's the story. Dan's knees shook like leaves on a windy day. Focus, Dan, focus, he told himself. Dan had never gotten over his fear of heights. He had just learned to control it by paying attention to the small details of his job. For the last several years, Dan had been a window washer, hanging off the side of some of the tallest buildings in town. Wet it down, Dan reminded himself. Now use the squidgy. But Dan's knees weren't shaking on this day, this Valentine's Day, because he was hundreds of feet off the ground. He was shaking because he was so excited. His Valentine, his girl Linda, worked on the top floor of this very building he was now on. And tonight after work for Valentine's, he was going to ask Linda to marry him. As Dan was working on the floor below Linda's office, he reached into his pocket to look at the ring he had bought her. I hope she says yes, he said out loud. Suddenly, the ring slipped out of Dan's sweaty hand. It bounced off the scaffold he was standing on and landed on the ledge of the building. He tried to reach it, but his safety harness did not let him. There was only one thing to do. Dan removed the harness and stretched for the ring. Just as he grabbed it, a powerful gust of wind hit. The scaffold swayed violently. Dan lost his balance and fell over the side. Dan found himself hanging from the bottom of the platform by the fingers of his left hand. His feet danced below him, high above the busy street. Somehow he was still squeezing his right fist around the ring. With his heart screaming in his ears, Dan quickly put the ring in his pocket and grabbed hold with both hands. Using all his strength, he pulled himself back onto the scaffold and into his harness. Ooh, that was close, Dan said, trying to catch his breath. But it's all good now. A few minutes later, Dan happily pounded on the window glass to get Linda's attention. She did not hear him, so he pounded louder. Again, she did not hear. He started hitting the glass window so hard he thought the glass would break. Finally, Linda looked up from her work and came toward the window, where Dan was waving now. A look of horror filled her face. She turned pale screamed, and crashed to the floor. Linda! Dan screamed. Linda! After a little while, Linda's best friend, who had heard the noise from next door, came in and helped Linda up to a nearby chair. Once she got Linda conscious again, she got her a glass of water and then she asked her, "It was Dan, wasn't it?" "Yes," Linda said through her sobbing. "He came back, just like he always does each year on this day, Valentine's. The same day 13 years ago when he fell to his death."
Mm.
Oh, it's like the Sixth Sense. He was a ghost the whole time.
Sixth Sense.
Yeah. You know,
Wow.
we
Huh?
probably ought to, as we get down to the wire here, we ought to mention, next week we got a special guest coming on here.
Oh, yes. Okay, look. Oh, there's Omar. Omar, better late than never. Where are you, Omar?
Oh,
Yes,
there he is.
he. Well,
He, he,
Omar,
he.
I guess you're on a different time zone, but gosh, we start at 7 o'clock Central Time. Wake up, people. Thank you for joining us, though. You've got the last few minutes of the show here. Next week, and Kevin, you got a picture of this guy? Can you tell us something about this
Oh,
guy?
crap.
Beef it up. We got a star. We got a horror flick. We've had an actress on here, and
Yeah,
now we're gonna have a bona fide, real deal horror actor. Thanks to my buddy Kevin Kane of myhauntedolls.com. Kevin,
yes.
Kevin, tell us who's going to join us. Show us some pictures. Give us something to look
Yeah, I'm
forward
trying
to.
to pull
Oh,
up
don't hurt.
couple of
Don't hurt
pictures here.
yourself. Whatever you do, don't hurt yourself.
Shut it. I'm trying to pull up a few pictures here. Let's see here. Daniel Emery Taylor is going to be our guest next week. He's an Alabama native and still an Alabamian here. As I try to get these pictures uploaded. Come on, you stupid thing. He will be joining us. Y'all know, what was it, a month ago? Can't believe it's been that long, but a month ago we had the lovely Cindy Hines on here, the actress from The Brood. And now, and she was a child actress. And now we're going to have another child actor, but this one I know personally. In fact, we went to school together, even while he was doing those movies. And I've almost got some pictures loaded up here. Oh, shut up, computer. Load the dang picture. There we go.
Shut up.
All right. So,
Okay, listen, while we're waiting on this, guys, hit the like button. Come on, subscribe. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe. Get the little bell over there, notification, so you'll get warned. We are on. You'll know when we upload new videos, whatever. Subscribe to Kevin's YouTube channel, My Haunted Dolls, and subscribe to my YouTube channel, Abnormal Alabama. Join us on Facebook at Abnormal Alabama. You're missing out on a lot of fascinating, weird, strange, quirky stuff that we put out constantly. Just
yes.
where'd you go? For you. For you. You. It's for you.
Ooh, so here he is from Return of the Swamp Thing. They're posing with old Swampy himself, Daniel Emery Taylor, who will be on our show next week. And then here's a more recent photo, and he's still doing acting. We had a creative writing class in high school together. That's where I went to middle school with him. I didn't really know him well until high school when we had our creative writing class together, and that's when I found out, hey, we have a star in our midst. So
A star is born.
He also guest starred. He was, I think, the main guest star in an episode of In the Heat of the Night with Carol O'Connor when he was, when Daniel was still a child back then. But then as he got older, he still was acting, and he appeared in Road Trip. And also, he's done his own horror movies, a bunch of them. One of them, called The Hospital, was wild and gruesome. It got banned in a foreign country. I think it was Turkey. So it'll be interesting to hear about that. I think he got a kick out of that. So that's going to be very, 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 very interesting.
Very interesting. So keep in mind, folks, if you want to talk to a bona fide actor who has been in many, many films, you have questions, we're going to open up for discussion. We're not only going to talk about the making of the Swamp Thing and so forth, but we're also, believe it or not, going to talk about horror film making in general, right?
Yeah, I thought
I
I had,
mean,
Heather Locklear was in that movie with him, and I thought there was a picture of them together, but it didn't. Stupid,
load,
stupid thing didn't load. I'll go in here and see if I can.
them stupid things.
Yeah, the stupid computer gets its little mind
Yeah, mine
on
has been
whatever
act.
it
I'm,
wants
I'm gonna
to.
have to break down here shortly and buy me another computer because this is getting kind of old, kind of over the hill.
Aha. I think I can get this picture downloaded. Now I see what happened. It didn't download the right. No, it's not gonna. It's one of those files that. Here we go. Here's a picture. Let me get this up here. I get a picture of him with Heather Locklear up here because I thought that was a pretty cool picture. He used to show that off. You know who Heather Locklear is, don't
Never heard of her.
you? Never heard of her.
Yeah,
Oh, come
that's a
on,
lie.
man.
That's a lie. I used to lust after her. I'm like
There
King
she
Carter.
is.
Got
So
her up
they
there.
starred together. They starred together in Return of the Swamp Thing.
You gotta love her hair.
Oh yeah.
Love her hair.
So maybe he'll
Folks,
tell you some stories about Heather Locklear next week.
I wonder if he got close and personal they look pretty cool. Look at that. Look at that.
Right there.
He was so young and dumb, he didn't recognize what he was standing next to. He probably looks back at his young self in that picture and think, damn, I wished I was 20 instead of a kid. And thank you, Playful Rain, for having subscribed to both of our channels. And I subscribe to your channel too, by the way. I get notified every time you do a live show, Playful Rain. Okay.
Playful Rain.
Did Omar leave us?
Oh, I don't know. He was a little bit late.
When I was a little bitty baby. Oh no.
There he was a little bit late. Yeah, you already showed that one.
Showed. So
now.
Okay, real quick, we can go over a couple of things here as we go over some stuff. Let me get over here because we have to do this because people, we're not making any money off of this thing here. We're doing this voluntarily.
Yes,
we come to you free of charge every week. And we've even done this twice a week before, I believe, at one time or the other for different reasons. But if you would, you'll see at the bottom of the screen, it's talking about the Wish Doctor's Wishing Machine now on sale, the wishdr.com. I am the Wish Doctor. I make your wishes come true. Read the reviews. Go to the website and read what people have written about the Wishing Machine. All right. And then right here, go to datingthedead.com. And Kevin's over there acting a bit silly. But go to datingthedead.com and order your book on Amazon. And there's some interesting stories. Just go to the website and enjoy what you see on the website, too. It's fascinating stuff. And then I think Kevin probably has something he might want to share with you as well.
Yeah, check out this new hat on my website, myhauntedDolls.com. So be sure to go there to myhauntedDolls.com, and I still have those bumper stickers out there if you want that. And now I just added this hat over the weekend. They're made to order. So, are you blocking my hat? Well, here, I want to put some of my, put some of my books up here. Crimson, the Blood Painting.
Oh, I thought he said put some of his butts up there.
Oh, shut up.
Should I play the twerking video again?
Kiss my grits.
If she only knew.
My
Okay.
honey.
Here is At a Wedding, folks, right here. You got to watch this. At a wedding, you talk about a fun time and a Valentine story. Right. That's his latest book. But real quick,
Yeah, it's about to come out shortly.
in our last 2 minutes, here is At a Wedding in Alabama, conservative state, conservative people enjoying some lustful times at a
Some
wedding.
lustful times.
Hey, I'm started. I started it. I started. 2, 1. Here we go. First picture. Here we go. Second picture. 3, 2, 1.
Hold it in, Peter. Hold it in, baby.
Third picture.
There you go. Welcome to Alabama.
Welcome to Alabama.
Okay, so next week, a superstar. Well, a star. I don't know how super, but that's going to be fun.
He's a super guy.
Join us. We are right at going into our 4th year of this. Just in a few weeks, I think we'll be into our 4th year of this live stream. So we've had some interesting experiences on here. More than once, we've had a true haunting on our show. When we used to do it from the office over there, we had 2 dolls that came alive
Yes,
right here.
Right
And
here.
we do show that from time to time, and a few other strange happenings. And then, of course, we took a trip one time to Nadine's grave house.
Yes.
And we had some interesting things. So join us. If you haven't seen some of those from time to time, we'll share that with you. Not just the sexy dancing I just showed you. So it's 9 p.m. Do you know where your ghost is?
Where's your ghost?
Do you know where your ghost is?
Where's your ghost?
Your ghost. Is that your ghost right there? Right,
I got a
right there,
ghost right
right
here.
there. Ah. So here, my buddy wants to say, beware,
Beware.
beware. Okay. Peace and love. It's time to get out of here. Have a good night, folks. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week.
Yes.